Welcome to Mam's Talk, where Mam's Talk Survivor. We're here, episode 5. The LeBron James of Survivor is with me. I didn't realize that you had that title. So congratulations,
Yeah,
first of
me
all.
either. Yeah, no, I'm honored. Thank you, Stephen.
That's quite a claim.
Certainly.
Do you think you've earned it?
Um, no, but I do think that he's not wrong that I'm the only winner left in the game,
That's
which
fair.
is
Yeah.
uh a hard thing to get past. But I do think that there are other players who, because they have not won but
Hmm.
play well, have an easier chance at getting to the
Yeah.
end. Whereas I don't think that being a winner in this game is necessarily a good thing for the long
Yeah.
game. But
And listen,
no,
there are
I'll
a lot
take
of great NBA players that never won,
yeah,
you
and
know,
I'll take the compliment.
and
But
we have to look at those people as well.
hmm
Hmm. So I want to say off the bat, um,
hmm
apologies that this is not a double episode as promised. It was going to be, but after this very emotional, pretty heavy vote out, and then the next one is also pretty meaty, it just felt more palatable to split them into two episodes. So apologies if you were hoping for a little bit more.
well, I'm happy that this is the decision that was made because I think that this episode stands very well on its own.
I agree. And it's a
So
really good one too. I
it's
think
a
it's
good
probably the
one.
best one so
I think that's
far.
probably true.
Yeah. But the woman of the hour, Allie, is going to be here to talk all about um her strategies, the shot in the dark play, all that fun stuff. So she will be here later and we're excited to talk with her. Yes. So let's talk about the episode. All right.
Okay.
So I feel like we got a big storm coming with this merge because
Oh, certainly.
or we know that it's brewing, but the Lady Luck, we are in destitute right now.
Oh yeah. Oh, Lady Luck is not doing well. It sucks because we finally won a challenge kind of, but then that challenge ended up being that both tribes go to tribal anyway. It was just individual immunity. So,
Yeah, it's
you
like
know.
the numbers of it all obviously are not great, but then you also have these conversations happening where, I mean, I know we're making a joke out of it, but clearly the LeBron James,
Mhm.
whatever, and like them seeing us is like so threatening is it's not looking good for the future for us.
No, and the vibe of the aces right now is very like you say it in the episode, but they seem very single track minded,
Hmm.
unified, one common goal kind of.
Yeah,
I think they are like less unified than it may seem to the Lady Luck
of
in real
course.
time,
Hmm.
but I think that the fact that they are like all driven by this idea of getting you or me out of the game binds them together for the time being until that happens and
Yeah.
will make them a force to be reckoned with in the merge if that group gets there.
Yeah, I feel like when it really hit for me was when they very quickly chose Max for exile. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay. All right.
Yes.
They have a mission and they're sticking to it and
Yeah.
clearly they want one of us four out."
Right. Like the the fact that they were reading our dynamic so clearly was definitely like because he was for sure going to be the person to go that round
Hmm.
if he was not in exile. So
Yeah. Um, but you're right that they're not quite as united as they might seem, even though they
yeah.
have their little bowling celebration. And things are very
Sorry,
scattered.
the bowling celebration really just
I
took
mean,
me
okay,
aback.
let's talk about it because listen, I understand them wanting a new little chant because, you and me kind of came up with the other one and they don't like us.
Mhm.
But they're haters, losers, losers. Um, but I don't think bowling has an ace element to it. It feels like you just took my idea of the volleyball and then just applied it to a different. a different sport that doesn't fit.
I
Like,
just was like, I remember when they came in and did that bowling thing, I was literally like, stop this nonsense.
oh God. And we're haters because we lost. But
Yeah.
but I'm like, come on, you got tennis. Like, what else? I mean, you could just say like we are like the ace
I'm playing my
player, like,
ace.
or like, like basketball, like an ace, like is like a person who like is
Hmm.
like a star player, like LeBron James.
Yeah, basketball references in other places.
Right. But bowling, babe, that's a strike. That's the
So
definition of a
true.
strike.
Hmm. Exactly.
So that's that. I don't know where we were going with that, but I'm
You were
glad that
just
we
talking you
talked
were
about
just
fun
talking about
things.
the tribe, the when they do their bowling. Well, no, but then I was like when they do their bowling thing, I was like, "Oh gosh,
Yeah, yeah.
they're
Also, I have to say, obviously, like we started the chant like the first time or whatever, and we won like two challenges. At this point, it feels a little tacky because y'all keep winning.
yeah, it's just like it's salt in the wound. We're dwindling. Lady Luck as a tribe has not won one single immunity challenge.
Yeah.
They go
It's
to every
like
tribal.
congrats, you won, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
know that we need the whole spectacle of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but we oh my God, that challenge. Let's talk about the challenge. Jesus Christ. That was horrible.
Well, I was really excited for that one. I thought that we had a good chance.
Yeah, because I think there is a misconception in that because there was a running element of it, it was just like who was faster. But
Yeah.
most of those were not. I think all of them really were not who's faster
No.
because the distance was pretty short. It was who can find the card the fastest,
Right.
who could do like the quick math and
For
like
sure.
just have the luck of finding whatever the card is the
Yeah.
fastest. But it did not work out for us, and people kept dropping shit, and
Well,
oh my God.
that was the thing. And then the other thing is that Allie couldn't see the cards. I
Right.
also I also couldn't really see the cards. I could see better than Allie could because we both weren't wearing
Gotcha.
our
Yeah, that
glasses.
wasn't an issue for me, but the
Yeah.
second someone gets like a slight lead on
Yeah.
you, like I like for mine, like GMAC was like a second ahead of me. I was just like, I'm not catching up to him.
Yeah.
I mean, even if I was like faster than him, it's just like
Yeah.
he's already he's
Halfway
gone.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's gone. Um,
It was similar for me and Grant. Like once I made the stupid
yeah, once he's
mistake
ahead of
and
you, there's
yeah.
nothing to do.
Yeah.
Um, but I really did enjoy the challenge, but unfortunate
Hmm.
way for us that it went.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, that was tough to
Yeah,
edit.
that was a pretty defeating loss,
Yeah,
especially once they sent Max to exile. It was like,
yeah.
you know,
So we're giving Flop Tribe
we're
bad
giving,
right
yeah,
now,
no, we are flop tribe for sure.
and you've been in this position before.
Don't I know it? I think that's why I was so like aggravated by it, is like I was
Mm,
really getting dragon fruit succulent energy, especially considering
yeah.
the win celebrations and stuff, like, kicking you while you're down sort of thing.
Hmm.
But the yeah, it's not a fun place to be, always losing. I'm happy that at least I had my first two rounds on the aces not going to tribal, because like the
Yeah.
original Lady Luck people, I can't imagine like how that's
Uh-huh.
feeling for them at this time.
Yeah. Well, Vanessa,
Oh,
oh,
wait, pause.
hold on. No. Um,
Then it's not
ma'am,
time for you.
we're not ready for you. Go away.
It's not even 11.
Well, yeah, she was told 11 o'clock. And just so you all know, it is 10:37. That will be left in.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Okay.
yeah, that's all. Anywho, what were we talking about? Oh, she just texted that she thought there was a waiting room. That would have been maybe smart, but no, I don't. There's
Yeah, no,
no
I don't know
waiting
how to
room.
set that up.
Anywho, what was it? Oh, I was saying Vanessa. It seems to her. It seems if you were just to watch her confessional, it seems like that was the first time she's ever won a challenge.
I know. Yes.
You would have thought Caroline would have won,
Right.
who's been at risk every time.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, Vanessa did lose those first two challenges.
That's true. But yeah,
But they've been on a winning streak for, I mean, not really, because they won the swap challenge, the
mm,
blindfold one,
right.
and then it was individual immunity. So this is only the second challenge Vanessa's really won.
That's fair. Yeah. But the last one also kind of felt like a loss
Mm-hmm.
for us. I don't know. Whatever.
Definitely. Yeah.
But yeah, but Max is sent to exile. He's not successful. We really yada yada past that one.
Yep. Mm-mm.
And it trust me, it was
And it was for the
necessary.
best.
There was nothing there. And he was happy to be there. So congrats
Yeah.
to him. Um, so what else did I have here? I do just want to talk about the Aces dynamics a little bit before we get into like the vote discussion.
The thing that really floors me about the Aces dynamics is how much time they are spending as a tribe, like not breaking off into individual conversations, which is
Yeah.
interesting because I also feel like that was the case at the original Aces camp in the beginning.
Hmm.
It was very like this reluctance to have like intentional alone time with people, whereas like the second we switched to Lady Luck, it was like individual conversations were
Hmm.
expected. Whereas, like, I think
Yeah.
that there's kind of this like threatening energy of like, if you break off, you're scheming. And
Yeah.
if you're not sitting in the circle with us or in this like little group confessional with us, then, you're
It's the
not a team
culture of the
player.
tribe.
Yeah.
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 And it works to some extent. I feel like there's almost like Steven in particular, I feel like is trying to play like a Boston Rob kind of game.
Definitely. Like
Kind
keep
of
keep everyone like separate from each other in a way where they can't scheme against him, kind of.
Yeah, and like kind of holding over power a bit. And
Yeah.
he does that in that conversation with Ella. I don't know if you like
Definitely. Oh
remember
no,
like
definitely. He
yeah,
was like it was like a kind of a thinly veiled threat a little bit.
yeah.
Like
He's like, "Well, you could go with Grant, but like he doesn't have the numbers and like,
I
I
do.
do."
Yeah. So like if you cross me, I'll use that against you
I
basically.
was like,
No,
"Whoa."
I was like wow, like
I thought that was
that's
crazy.
yeah.
And listen, it worked for Rob. We'll see what happens
Hmm.
for Steven here.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you right now, that would not work on me.
Nope.
I'd be like, who do you think you're talking to right now? It's not me. I really don't.
Certainly. Yeah.
But if you're playing with certain people who are a little more docile, if you will, um, like that can work, absolutely.
It definitely can work because there is definitely a type of survivor player that likes being attached to people in power
Mm-hmm.
versus like carving their own path towards power. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
like that you just get that a lot with like the like tribal alliances that like maintain into the merge. It's like there's always someone at the bottom, but even that person at the bottom is like, well, I'm complicit in whatever this is.
Yeah. Yeah. So it seems like there's like a Roos versus GMAC thing happening. That's really, I
Right, like
mean,
who's the power player of that duo?
the power player. Oh, that's interesting.
Is that not what you're talking about?
Um, no, like it just turned in, they're talking about like if they have to vote someone off.
Oh, well, that's what I mean. Like,
Oh,
who's the
okay.
more threatening of
Oh, sure,
Roos
sure,
and
sure, sure.
GMAC?
What did I
And
say? Roos and GMAC?
yes.
I thought I said Grant and GMAC.
No, you said Roos and GMAC.
Oh, sorry. I meant wait, no. I meant Roos and Grant.
Grant. Okay, got it. Yeah.
Sorry.
I thought you meant Grant is like, who's more threatening, Roos or
Oh,
GMAC, which is essentially what's
no.
happening, kind
I mean,
of.
yes.
But
But it seems like Roos is like the name
yes.
that's up for like in some capacity, and then like Grant is another because they're both kind of shady in
Yes.
different ways.
No, I agree.
Um,
I think that that's like Roos is the like person of the original aces that they would vote out, and Grant is the person of the original Lady Luck that they would vote out if they had to go to tribal this round.
yeah. But it's interesting that Grant is feeling really comfy.
I agree. I think it's like he has like when he started on the aces, he had this like really good kind of like tether between the two groups because he had this guys alliance, but then he also had the
Hmm.
original Lady Luck group. But now I feel like he is like stayed in that position so long that it's become clear that he is the least malleable of the original Lady Luck. Like,
Yeah.
but at the same time, the guys do want to use him as a number, so I think he's kind of relying on that pretty heavily. But I think that like the second that they have to go to tribal as this tribe, it would be like, well, who cares? You know, Vanessa and Liz are easy to get on our side if we need to.
Yeah. I also just think as a player like Grant, who like has this reputation, like, whatever, like I feel like you can never really be comfy unless you build like really strong bonds,
Yeah.
which I think he's built with Vanessa and Liz, but
Yeah.
I don't know that he's done that with the aces to feel so
No.
comfy, you
Yeah. No,
know?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So that's just where I am, but you're right that there's a lot of just like group conversations happening, and a lot of them did not make it into this episode. I'll be real.
Yeah, when I was looking through the footage, it was a lot of circle time.
A lot of circle time, a lot of nothing.
Hmm.
So the show was going on across the lawn.
Across the lawn.
Yeah. That is really interesting because like we can like fully like see each other, but like it
No,
does
I
feel
know.
so split.
It does. And it's interesting to like look at the footage and like you see the clip of like,
Yeah.
of GMAC and Steven or whatever, and like me and you are in the background.
And like when you're having those conversations, you don't see the other tribe like at all. Like you
No.
see them, but like your brain doesn't even process that they're there because you are your tribe and they're like a separate thing. It's
Yes.
an interesting like psychology thing that I would
Yeah,
be,
it is
yeah.
interesting. The way that tribalism like manifests in this in regular Survivor as
Hmm.
well, because it's so arbitrary, but especially in like this fake game for children, as some may say,
Yeah.
is that like how do the tribes feel so like real, And even when we swap, it's like that's my new tribe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
This game is so crazy. It really
yeah.
is. But let's talk about the gameplay. So
Yep.
I think I mean, I guess let's just talk about like how hard this vote was because
Hmm.
I mean we mentioned it a lot in the episode, but like none of us wanted any of these people
Yeah.
to go.
No, yeah, we 100% were going to go into the merge. If we could have had Max, I think it would have been 6 strong.
Oh, absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
obviously, when I say that, I mean like Max would have gone this time. The reason it was so hard is because Max was at exile and like that 5 was really tight.
Hmm.
But it wouldn't have been such a hard vote if Max was on the table.
Definitely.
But like if us 5 could have gone into the merge together, I think we would have been like we wouldn't have wanted to cut each other before merge anyway, no matter how you slice it.
Yeah. So a lot of hard conversations. I almost use this as the episode title because I think it's really emblematic. But Joe being like, it feels like everyone's fighting for their lives.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that's the culture of our tribe. Like everyone's
Yeah.
like playing.
Yeah. It's
And
yeah. We have a lot of big game players on our side
yeah.
too. So
And like I thought in during this, like I was like, and if it's me, like I'm happy to go out like this because like I know that
mhm.
I did everything that I could. Like,
Yeah.
I really respect like the gameplay of everyone around me.
Yeah.
But we came out on top.
We sure did.
Um, okay, so there's a lot of things happening here.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start?
Okay, well, I guess I can just talk about like because I think my confessional like kicks off the whole episode, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. But like the round prior, I had like Allie has that moment where she reveals that she asks if anyone's talking about her, and we all say,
Hmm.
"No, I haven't heard your name." And she immediately acknowledges that that's a mistake.
Yeah.
But after that, I kind of made it that my like secret mission, I guess, to like kind of get Allie out at the next opportunity that made sense. Um, and like as much as it sucked voting her out this round because I was happy with the alliances I had with her, I do think that like ultimately being forced to make that decision now was in my best interest because it was like the round right after I realized that she was not necessarily benefiting my game in the way that I wanted her to be. Um
Yeah.
so I that was like my
Hmm.
that was my immediate thought when Max was off the table was it has to be Allie.
Yeah, I'm curious, like obviously we don't know, but what would have happened if we did get to the merge with Miyu, Ally, Caroline? Like, does that put a bigger target on us?
I honestly think we could have. Here's the thing. If we were actually sticking together, I think we honestly could have muscled our way out of it because having four big targets is kind of like too
Mm,
much to manage, especially if they're all aligned.
yeah.
But I think it would ultimately be like that we wouldn't actually stick together. Like I think that Allie getting
Yeah.
to the merge, I think Allie immediately flips back to the original
I
Aces,
kind
which
of
is
think
another
so.
reason why it was
Yeah.
best for her to go. Like
Yeah,
I think
and we'll
that
we'll get her insight
yeah,
on that later, but
yeah.
yeah. What were you gonna say?
I just want to say like and in that moment I felt like Caroline was a much more sure ally come the merge.
Yeah, I think this vote really came down to relationships at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like we could talk about like the strategy of it all, whatever, but
Hmm.
like I think what it really boiled down to was that Miyu and Caroline trusted each other the most,
Yeah.
and obviously Caroline trusted Joe,
Yeah.
so she didn't want him to go.
Yeah.
And then Allie just didn't have that strong bond with Caroline specifically.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Caroline wasn't ready to go to bat for her. It was Allie's, and Allie acknowledged this off camera, I think, when we were just
mm,
talking about it, but like she was like, my strategy of me or Caroline, like her or Caroline, was not the way to go about it because we were never
yeah.
going to vote out Caroline.
And we
And
can talk about that when she comes on, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Whereas like if she had been pitching Joe, I think there much would have been a much more high likelihood that we end up sticking to the
Yeah.
four girls and voting out Joe.
Right. And I understand her desire for Caroline to go because she does
Definitely.
have that relationship with Joe. But I think
Definitely.
after you're told that like you're the other name, you kind of can't have your cake and eat it too.
For sure.
Um,
It's like anyone but you at that point.
and you just yeah, I think you gotta sell Joe up
And
the water.
she obviously wanted Joe to stick around because Joe was the one who was telling her that her name was out there. Like so Joe is
Right.
earning his trust with Allie,
Yeah.
which is a good strategy for him considering the world where she does stay. He
Hmm.
has good relationships with everyone. But has also been looking at getting rid of everyone. It's like a very like,
Yeah.
fine line to walk.
Well, the funny part is we were almost convinced of Joe, but I think
Yes,
her downplaying how much Joe wanted us gone
correct.
made us be like, okay, well, maybe he is with us. Like, I guess we'll
Correct.
keep him around. So
For sure. That
that's
is
where
that
like trying
is
to play all sides kind of goes
definitely
south.
for sure. Like I would have been willing to get rid of Joe for sure. Like if it meant the four of us could stick together. But I do think that what it came down to at the end of it was I think that we were a bit convinced to keep Allie by the end of it, but the fact that we had been saying
Mm,
Caroline and Allie's names to the other, it was
yeah.
too risky to have them to talk about it the next round,
Yeah. I
you
also
know?
think it would have been, I mean, like we could have done like me, you, and Allie vote for Joe, but I think it would have been a really hard sell to Caroline.
Yeah, well, so
Like if
I
we
the
had
last
decided on that, like I think that would
yeah,
have been hard to get her to actually do.
the last conversation I had before Tribal was with Caroline, which was me saying like, "Do you want Joe or Allie?" Basically, because
Yeah,
we had decided that this was after the conversation where we decided it's not Caroline, it's either Joe or Allie.
yeah.
So we were like, I was just like, "Where is your head at?" And she really was like clearly wanting to keep Joe safe.
Yeah. And Joe
So
makes that clear too. Like
definitely.
she was very set on Allie and like nothing he said was swaying
Yeah,
her
and
and she's
she's
very firm in that.
she's yeah, she's often very firm in her decisions as well. Like she knows what the right move for her is and she doesn't really want to budge on it. So
Yeah,
it would have been a tough blow to our working relationship if we had ended up voting out Joe.
definitely. And like there's no other option for her.
Hmm.
Like
Right, because she wants to
there's
keep
there's no reason to sway away. I mean, other than like if she's the other name, like
yeah.
what?
Yeah, I
Why
I
would
do
she
think
go against anybody else?
I do think it's interesting that it is very much like Allie versus Caroline here. Like they're both
Yeah.
talking about like their past history working together
Hmm.
because they've been on the same tribe every season.
Hmm.
And I think that like they both know each other's strengths, to the point where they don't want to be swept up in them and would rather kind of keep them at a distance so that they don't get like, Allie feels like she's easily manipulated by Caroline. Caroline thinks that Allie is like a bit of a like unreliable ally.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear them kind of like saying the same things about each other kind
Hmm.
of.
Yeah.
Um
And I think again that's where the relationship building really came into play because I don't like yes their past experiences are part of it, but I think they could have reconciled in a way
Definitely.
that was like whatever, but I think there was very minimal effort on both of their parts to
Definitely.
like, get on the same page.
Yeah, I think that me and Caroline had both had like a very like strong intention to kind of like work together in a way that was going to like sweep everything else that we had like from the
Right.
past
Hmm.
working together under the rug because like we have never really had a successful alliance in this game, and I think that both of us were kind of trying to do that extra work to make sure that we had each other's trust this
Yeah.
time. So
Very smart on both of your
yeah.
parts. But yeah, this was we were very torn, but it came to a decision. Oh, I do want to talk about the tribal combo
Oh my God, yeah.
because in my mind we had already like locked in Allie.
Yeah, can
And so
I
talk me through what happened because
okay.
it's slightly like misrepresented in the edit.
Yes, it is. It's so this is what happened. I was talking to you, and then I we have that conversation that's on film, like the one where it's just the two of us talking about how it has to be Allie or Caroline. It can't be Joe at this point because
Hmm.
like they've talked, if they talk, whatever. And then at that point, I think I had talked to Caroline quickly, but then I'm called for a confessional. And so I do a confessional quickly, but by the time I get back from the confessional, everyone's in that circle. So I had no chance to like because we were still kind of I thought that you had been convinced by Allie's pitch, kind of like, and I say that in my confessional right after that. Like I was like, it feels like
Hmm.
Kay's been almost convinced by this Allie pitch. And I would be willing to do what you want to do if Caroline's on board, basically. So I went to
Right.
Caroline and said, like, what do you think about Joe? And that's what I was kind of talking about before. But because I never got to relay to you that like Caroline doesn't want Joe, we're sticking with Allie. I was worried that you were going to vote Joe because of the Allie conversation.
Hmm.
So all I wanted to do was just kind of like say like we're still good on Allie, right?
Hmm.
you
So,
know.
but we're trying to be subtle, so like her mouth is going like,
I'm like,
and I was like, Caroline?
yeah, yeah. They
I
they
was
do
like,
have
wait, I was like, whoa, what happened?
well,
But
and then I was like, and then both of us at the same time are like, Caroline, we said it has to be anyone but Caroline. Why are we saying why is Caroline's name
I was
here?
like, what? And then I was
And then
like,
I was
I
like,
was like, oh, you want to switch it to Joe? And then and
and
you
then
were
I was
like,
like, I was like, no, and then I was like, I thought you were, because I was
yeah.
just trying to get the update. So I
So
thought you were updating
we
me.
both thought that the
Yeah,
other one was like
changing the
switching,
vote.
yeah.
Yeah,
And then
yes.
I was like, Allie?
And then I was
We're
like,
sticking with Allie, right? And you're like, yes. And I'm like,
yes.
okay.
Yes. And I like was saying while we were watching this episode back that like I didn't hear a thing Zach said this tribal. Like I was
No.
so locked into the fact that we needed to figure out who we were voting.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean,
If you look back, you'll see Jess like behind my chair, like tapping
yes,
me,
I'm
being like,
like I literally made sure that I was sitting next to Allie. I mean, sorry, next to
mm,
Kay, but with Allie and Joe on my other side. Like
that's
I like
smart. Oh,
specifically lined up that
your
way so that
brain.
so that I could talk to you without it being like because I wasn't worried about Caroline seeing what I was saying, you
Yeah.
know. Um, so
Well,
yeah,
lucky
whatever.
for me, I was facing them, so I
Yes.
was like, Allie,
Yes.
trouble.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But it
I
made for
was like,
great television.
I did. It was good. I was so stressed out in the moment though.
Well, and then your voting confessional, which didn't make it in because for suspense
Uh-huh.
reasons, but you were like, I asked Kay who she wanted, and she said everyone's name but mine. So hoping this is it.
I was like, I guess I'll just go with The one that we agreed
Like,
on
I don't even know
before.
what's going on here. I don't know. Close it
Yeah,
out.
that ended up, and in hindsight, it was all like, it is kind of stupid because it's like very clear that like, you didn't have any change of heart or anything, but like in the moment, I had no like
I would have made
hard
it a lot clearer, I'll
confirmation.
tell you that.
Yeah, yeah,
I'd be like, we're
yeah.
doing Joe.
I just kind of felt like you were so like out of it when I was talking to
Oh,
you.
oh, I
Like,
what? Oh,
no,
absolutely. I
I
mean,
know.
what made you think that?
Maybe.
Oh, your girl was stressed out. And I am wearing this hat today. I cry a lot, but I am so productive, and I feel like that really represents me as a person, but
hmm
me in this game, particularly this
You as
episode.
in this episode, yeah. You got the job done, but you did cry afterwards.
Yeah. And
Um,
that's how I roll. Like I'm emotional
that's
about it, but like it's not gonna sway
hmm
my
your
logic.
decision. Yeah. But
Yeah.
here's the thing, I know that as someone who knows you, but
Hmm.
I was really worried that you were kind of being manipulated by Allie a little bit
Mm,
with her very emotional pitch of
yeah.
like, I want to go deep with you in this game. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
voting you two out. And like, you clearly were emotionally swayed by that. And you
Yeah.
even start to kind of question, is there a world where we can keep Allie and
It
Caroline? So
it did make me think because like I wasn't that sure in the first place
yeah.
anyway. Like I was torn the whole time. So like the
Mhm.
pitch did do something for me.
Yeah. I mean, I say it in the
Um
confessional. I was like, I'm worried that Kay's been swayed. I'm worried that I've been swayed, but I think we
yeah.
need to stick to our
And listen,
guns.
there even in this moment right now, I'm still wondering if that was the right decision.
Yeah, I think that that's
Yeah.
fair.
Like that's our girl.
Yeah, but she was being a snake.
She was being a little bit of a snake.
I just think the second she gets to merge, she's linking with Steven and Ella.
Yeah, or trying to.
Or
Yeah.
trying to, but I don't
Um
know how well they accept her,
but yeah,
but
un unbeknownst to the audience, Joe is the one that tells her to play the shot in the dark.
hmm
Um this was this was like during voting, which like you're not really supposed to do. So
Yeah.
in the future, I don't think he had any like bad intentions about it. Um, but I do think that we need to be very clear and strict about like when
Yeah,
game conversations can happen
for sure.
because
Like it
no one
was,
had any sort of like
yeah.
opportunity to like intercept that.
Right. Like if we had heard Joe say play your shot in the dark, we might have switched to Joe,
Yeah.
because then
I
there's
mean, who knows?
yeah, but there's the
But
chance that Allie's safe. So do we want to bank on the 1 in 6 shot of our votes meaning nothing in that moment? And then we just
oh
like,
yeah. Yeah.
then we just exposed our cards that we all voted for her.
Mm,
But it kind of reminds me of in season 1 when Dylan like gets the idol but like after Zach has voted.
yeah,
So Zach can't change his vote for Dylan
for
after
sure.
Dylan gets the idol.
Yeah.
So, whereas like he had said, that he would not have voted for Dylan had he seen Dylan take the idol from around your neck,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So just stuff like that. Like if people have already voted when that kind of thing happens, it's not the best for like
Yeah. And like
doing
maybe we
things in a
wouldn't have
vacuum.
heard it or
Yeah,
like noticed anything anyway, but like you have to play within the
for
bounds of
sure.
the actual game. But yeah, so I he obviously her shot in the dark does not work,
Yeah.
but
Thank God.
if it does, let's talk about what happens. So Allie's safe, leaving me, you, Caroline, and Joe on the table. I think
I
me and
think
you vote for Joe.
definitely. I
Joe obviously votes for you. What does Caroline do?
I think Caroline votes for Joe.
You
I do.
think?
I do.
Okay.
I do. We could ask her, but it's all in retrospect, so it's like
Yeah. I think
but
there's a world where she maybe votes you, but I don't know.
I guess it depends on what's said at the live tribal because there would definitely be
Yeah. Because
conversations.
here's the tea though, is me and you would have been firm on Joe, and even if
Yeah.
they did you, we would I would have gone to Rocks. I would have been like, I'm going to Rocks. Caroline, you can go to Rocks with me, or you can flip to Joe.
Caroline wouldn't have gone to Rocks.
She would not have gone to
She would not
Rocks.
have gone to
Absolutely
Rocks.
not.
Yeah.
So that listen,
So
that would have been
so that's
good.
what happens. Yeah.
Um,
I really don't
I think that is yeah.
Caroline's too safe of a game player.
Yeah. I think
She's too
either way Joe
calculated.
goes, even if
I
Caroline
think
does
so.
like vote for you initially or like maybe wants to vote for you, but then that does break your guys' trust if that
It
happens.
also breaks, yes, and it also, well, her voting for me then breaks y'all's trust. Whereas
True.
like
Yeah.
like the two of you,
Mm-hmm.
where like I understand the logic of like,
Mm,
okay, well, she has on one side of her, she has someone who has made a final two with her, like an ally
yeah.
who is directly her number one, or she has this duo that she feels good about, and
Yeah.
it's more numbers, but it's also like she might be worried that we're each other's number one,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, yeah,
and
I think that's interesting though, because if her shot in the dark does work, Joe is the one to go. So the fact that he told
yes.
her is actually kind of bad for him.
No, it
I don't
is.
know that he knows that, but
I think that it totally like it's 90% it's him. Unless like there's some right, because you're never flipping.
I'm
It's I
not
mean,
flipping unless Caroline is like, I need Joe around,
yeah,
which like maybe and like the
yeah,
rock thing happens, but
yeah. Right. I think it
yeah.
depends on um what is said at that live tribal. But I
Yeah.
ultimately think she would not want to burn bridges with both of us versus just Joe. Because then, no matter how you slice it, whoever she's
Hmm.
burnt the bridge with in our duo is still in the game and is angry at her and
Yeah,
potentially doesn't want to work with her.
that's true.
Whereas if she burns a bridge with Joe, Joe's gone. Like Joe's just out of the game.
Okay. So,
So
um, it is 11 o'clock.
it's 11
So
at 4.
you know what time it is. Our girl, she's got to come in. So we'll be back and you'll be seeing Allie for the second time. Hey girl, welcome back.
Hey.
The first time today.
So you've been sitting here for like half an hour just waiting?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Very excited to talk with my
The
friends.
anticipation was killing you.
I needed to be on the goss.
You
The first time
needed
I've been on the
this.
pod this season. This
I
is
I
know.
know.
and
Crazy.
Wow. What?
What?
I said in the last.
Oh,
Mm.
sorry, you cut out. What?
What?
Okay, so I guess let's start with how you navigated this vote. Do you have any reflections looking back?
Boy, do I have reflections. I mean, I think that at the point of this vote, already I had backed myself into a bit of a corner. So I don't know if there was like so much I could have done, but I think the main thing is I really should have read the room and realized that Joe was the other person and been more adaptable to having Joe go out. I think I was more laser focused on long-term game decisions and the fact that I had an alliance with Joe and didn't want him to go for my
Yeah.
own game, that I wasn't willing to see that he was the like it should have been an anyone but me situation. And
Hmm.
he's my like ally and I want to go to the merge with him. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that that's my main regret about navigating like this section of the game.
Yeah. Obviously, like you want like I think like in these games you want to like maximize as much as you can. What's the optimal move? But like sometimes you can't get those things done and you gotta cut your losses when you can.
Yeah.
Which like credit to Joe, he was adapting super well this episode.
Yeah.
So I really like seeing what he was doing with trying to make it happen with you guys, and
Mm.
you know, ultimately it
Yeah.
didn't work out and he had to cut his losses.
Yeah. And then he told you to play your shot in the dark.
He sure did. He sure did.
Which
So
we have just discussed is bad for him.
to tell me to play the shot in the dark.
Because
Yeah,
if
because
if
if you're
if it,
safe,
if you're safe, he's going.
Well,
we've
I don't
discussed
think
we've
he knows that he's going.
Huh?
Is the issue. I don't think that he's aware that he was the other name, and he.
well, sure.
Oh, that's just
I
I think
good
guess
luck.
so, like I guess so, but if you're looking at the math of even if him and Caroline stick together, you have no vote.
yeah,
So it's Caroline and Joe versus me and Kay. And Kay just said that she would have gone to Rocks over voting out Joe over me. So or voting me over Joe.
yeah.
So if unless Caroline is set on going to Rocks, in which case me and Joe are both safe and it's Kay or Caroline going,
Yeah,
Which, yeah.
then that's the only scenario where Joe is safe in
yeah.
that.
I do think that it was kind of a wild move for him to tell me to play my shot in the dark, but
Hmm.
Insane move.
I
He was
appreciate
obsessed with you.
He was well, he
that
had a
a lot.
secret.
He had
Do we want to talk about the unaired side plot that he was trying to make happen?
Has it really not aired yet?
no, was
No,
At
because
all?
it was
No, I
not
know.
relevant to anything.
I know
But
it wasn't, but
Allie, do you want to tell the story?
it
oh,
was like sorry, it did impact his motivations in the game. Like clearly.
that's true. What happened? Joe and I drove up to the lovely city of Rochester together with Ella, another player on this game, as you all know.
Hmm.
And for reference, I have been a vegetarian for a long time. I had kind of switched over to being a pescatarian, and I was like, you know what? This time I'm gonna have chicken. I'm gonna have like buffalo wings in Rochester. Sounds like a good way to start eating chicken again. But unfortunately, we did get to a rest stop where Chick-fil-A was the only option. And I did eat Chick-fil-A on the way to Rochester, which was meant to be our little secret for many reasons.
Stay with us. I promise you this has
It's going
relevancy.
somewhere. It's going somewhere.
So during the game, Joe pulls me aside to propose a final two to me, which of course I accept. But then he goes, and if it ever falls apart, even though I do trust you, I do know your little secret. And I was like, my the chicken secret. And I said, no, not my secret. He was threatening to tell everybody that I had eaten Chick-fil-A
Yeah.
for some reason.
Well, he also told me like after this whole thing that he had a reason to keep you around.
Yeah.
Like that he was just being super vague about, oh, don't worry, I've got a reason to keep Allie
That was
around.
the other part is like he was really vague in the confessionals too. It was just like, but I have a way to keep her around. So I was like, I
Yeah.
was like, I'm not putting this weird,
Yeah.
like ominous threat in.
I remember one time I walked up on you guys talking about the chicken thing, and then it was so like it was, oh, nothing's going on here. Don't worry, just some game talk.
Nothing crazy. Definitely no secrets happening.
About a little chicken wing.
It was just
So
funny. I was like,
stupid.
yo, Kay edits all of this footage. Like she's gonna find out about the chicken thing now that you now the blackmailing is
And it really affected you. You were like, no, don't tell anyone about the Chick-fil-A.
my secret. That's my shame.
That's
Yeah.
my biggest shame.
Interesting play. I mean, we don't need to talk about Joe anymore because
Yeah, this is about Allie.
This is about you. Okay, so you have 3 seasons under your belt, right? Um, you think that nothing would take you by surprise, but I'm assuming that there are things that you were not anticipating this time.
Mm,
What are those things?
yeah. I mean, I think I took myself by surprise um, in regressing from the lessons learned during Manhattan and Scan a little bit. But as far as game moves that took me by surprise, I definitely wasn't surprised to be voted out, if that is what we're saying. Um,
No, I just mean like, things you weren't
playing.
prepared for that you thought you
yeah,
maybe were.
I was thinking about this a lot. I think that I was really not prepared to start off in such a good position. And I think I do better when I'm fighting from the bottom. And
Mm.
this time around, I think I started in a really good position and fumbled the bag at every turn. Um, and I also went into the game really because one of my regrets of Scan is that I felt that I was too focused on like having a one loyal person that was my loyal ally that I kind of alienated other relationships or like put those under the bus, which ended up being good for my game in that circumstance, but in another world that could have really bit me in the butt. So this time around I was surprised by having like a lot of options for alliances, but the issue is I think I was surprised by my complete inability to keep my mouth shut because the
Oh, you
second
were surprised?
I think what I mean by that is, well, Jess has stated that I was playing a snaky game this time, which I do think is true.
Mhm.
But in my mind, it was more like, well, now I'm aligned with this new person, so I have to tell them everything I know. And then every new alliance that I
Mm.
would make with somebody, I'd be like, well, I can't lie to them. They're my new ally. So
Gotcha.
everything to them. So
Wow.
I was surprised at how unable I was to like lie to people, if that makes sense.
Mm.
That's interesting. Yeah.
That makes sense because I feel like you did play like a very honest game in Scan,
But I
like a
will
very
say,
loyalty based game.
at least from my end, like when we had that very first conversation where like we kind of leveled with each other, the fact that you did tell me about like Steven or whatever, I think did build trust. So
Totally.
Definitely.
like
Yeah,
there's a balance.
there's definitely a balance. I think also the behind the scenes of that is the second I started talking to Steven, he was saying your name, and I really didn't want you to go early from like a friend perspective.
Gotcha.
I
Yeah.
think that affected
Yeah.
my decisions in the game.
I mean, I would have been very sad if I had been like first or second boot.
Yeah. In my head,
Yeah.
like if I'm working with Kay and I'm in this tribe with her, I want her to make merge at least. I want her to,
Hmm.
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
is like that is clearly how I played my game because I ended up aligning myself most closely with you guys for better or for worse. But it ended up biting me in the butt because with Kay comes someone named Jessica. And Jessica is not as affected by personal relationships as Kay might be.
Why would you say I was
And what
affected
makes you
by
say
our
that?
No, I can't think of anything.
I think I was like really chill about voting you out.
Yeah, you were really chill about it.
Yeah, you were so normal.
It's funny because it clearly was like the undeniably best move for your game to vote me out at that point, and you still were so conflicted about it.
I trust me, I was stressed out by how conflicted Kay was about it because I was like, I feel like she's been convinced. I feel like she's like gonna flip on me
Yeah,
now.
I we just talked about this. I still don't know that that was the right move. I still don't. I'm still like maybe Joe was better.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Maybe.
But yeah, that we're not talking about me. But
But yeah, Kay did refer to your game in a way that I think is very accurate, which is that you wanted to have your cake and eat it too.
oh
Definitely wanted to have my cake and
You wanted to have
eyes.
good relationships with every single person and like indiscriminately have everyone in your back pocket in a way that was not feasible.
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
right. Well, I think you framed your game in a good way. I do want to ask you, how do you think you set yourself up pre-swap?
Pre-swap, yeah, swap is really interesting, right? I mean, this never really came to fruition, but I was planning to work with Ella. We ended up having
Mhm.
one game conversation the entire time I was on the game.
Yeah.
So that didn't really pan out. But I think I was in a pretty good position of like playing the middle pre-swap, but I do think that the swap actually worked in my favor because eventually that was going to bite me in the butt. Already Ella was saying my name to Steven and saying
Hmm.
I was saying his name, which I don't even think I said to Ella. I think that Ella was playing her own little chaos. Um, so I think that the amount of I was doing a good job relationship building, but I think the fact that I was building a relationship with everyone and didn't really have a plan as to where I I didn't really have I didn't know where the cards were gonna fall and who I was gonna choose to like
Hmm.
really stick it out with, I think would have bit me in the butt in a big way. I think that the swap was actually a really good thing for me if I
Hmm.
had played it better.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I also think I think the swap was the best thing that happened to the three of us. It just sucked
Definitely.
that
Oh my God.
we kept losing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
the thank God I got off of the tribe with Steven.
Yeah.
Like
That man has it out for us. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
And I don't know how much longer I could have navigated Stephen talking about you guys to me
Versus us, yeah.
as you guys. I think I would have had like a real mental breakdown.
you would have had to make a decision, at
We
least
had to make,
internally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I
Similar to the Dylan versus Jess
Yes.
decision.
Yeah.
so I'm kind of grateful that for my own emotional health that didn't end up happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think that part of the reason why I wanted you gone over Joe was that you had Stephen and Ella on the other side.
Yeah. I think that was a big part of it.
Yeah, which totally makes sense.
Yeah.
And I was way too honest about that. I was like, yeah, CJ offered me a final two. Idiot. Why would I say that? Um, I said this in my Manhattan exit interview. And I think that the biggest lesson that we have learned is shh, be quiet.
But have we learned the lesson?
Listen. We learned it temporarily. We forgot it. We had a
We,
temporary amnesia. Um,
yes.
and if I play a future season, maybe we'll learn that again. Maybe this is going to be a vicious cycle.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
like one on, one off.
Yeah.
Exactly. I do want to talk about your first season actually. Because I have made a connection that you are the first one to go out of like an alliance.
Yeah.
Why do you think that you're in that position um so often, or do you think it's just gonna happen happenstance?
No, I think that there is a connection there. I think partially because I'm a pretty loud player. Like I was
Hmm.
watching the pod and you guys were talking about the fact that Dom was the first to go of the Big Aquinas alliance because he was, so
Hmm.
loud and so controlling, but then like didn't really have the relationships to back that up. And I think that my Manhattan game and my all-in game kind of mirror that in that I was very loud and I didn't have any true final twos this time. Like I didn't I was myself in the way that like I was relationship building, but
Mm.
nothing, it all felt very tenuous. So I
Hmm.
think it made sense for me to be in the bottom of the alliance. I had an incorrect read. I thought that Caroline was in the bottom of that alliance, which understanding the heavy hitters plan, I should have like course correct.
Yeah.
But there was no world in which Caroline was ever going to vote you two out. I think that she felt strongly about an alliance
Yeah.
too over an alliance with me because we have
Yeah.
a fractious relationship.
You have a sordid past.
We have
Right. So I think my last question for you is just if your shot in the dark were to have worked,
a-
what is your game plan from there?
Yeah, good question. I think the issue is, and it was something that I was blinded by being such close friends with you guys, that I thought that you two were the correct shield for me. Like I thought that you guys staying in the game was good for me, but then it wasn't good for me because I'm not
Hmm.
a shield for you anymore. So I think ultimately at that point, I'm trying my best to get most likely Jess out because I think that it was clear that Jess was coming for me more than Kay was, and hoping to get through the merge, go with Joe. Caroline, I think, is maybe a lost cause, but try to like relationship develop with Kay and Caroline as best as I can, but focusing on people on the other side after the merge.
Yep, that makes sense. All right, Jess, do you have any questions before we move on?
No.
No. Okay, so we're here for episode MVP and silly goose of the day, of
Yeah,
course.
of course.
Allie, curious to know what your thoughts are for MVP.
Yeah. I have like a definite answer and I have a runner-up answer. So my runner-up answer is I think that Joe did a really good job this episode. I think that he was adaptable, like pretty much all the stuff I said before. I think that he was good at reading the room and seeing what was going to work for him and what wasn't going to work for him and adjusting his strategy accordingly. I also think he set himself up really well up to this point of being this like wild man with no allegiances that allowed him to like that is basically the reason why he stayed because everybody was like, well, he doesn't have anybody on the other side.
Hmm.
Why does it matter? He's alone. Let's bring him in.
Hmm.
So I think that that was really, I think he did a really good job in that way. But my undeniable episode MVP is Jess because she is the one who reads the writing on the wall. Allie was very silly for saying that no one was talking about her in a group of people who could vote her out. But then Jess immediately acts on it and stays strong on that idea because it ultimately is the best thing for her game, regardless of the pushback that's happening. And also you're doing a good job of like not being too forceful with it, even though you have that plan and you want to stick with it you're you're good at like kind of making it seem like it's other people's ideas.
Hmm.
Mm,
Yeah.
gotcha. I mean,
Jessica.
I'll go next since your name is on the table,
Hmm.
Jessica. I was really torn between you and Caroline actually. Even though
Mm.
Caroline's not in the episode a lot, she was very instrumental in this. And I
Hmm.
think a lot of the reason why her clips aren't in it is because she's so like it has to be Allie.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um and
She's like super safe.
she's the only one
Yeah.
that's safe in this like cutthroat
Yeah.
round, and that's because of the foundations that she set up with people.
Yeah.
And this is like undeniably the best move for her.
Mhm.
However, I do agree that Jess is like making it happen, like and really putting in the work with me specifically. Um, so I'm torn. I mean, I can't really tell you to break the tie, but I'm curious what your thoughts are just in general.
Normally, I have a hard time with myself on the table as MVP, but I do actually kind of agree that I think I'm the episode MVP. I think the fact that Kay wanted to flip at every turn and I had to kind of talk you off the ledge a little bit, like in a way that seemed like we like came to the conclusion together. And I think we ultimately did come to the conclusion together because I was willing to work with you on a different option if that's what you wanted. But like I think I was able to dissuade your fears about getting Allie out and ultimately make it so that that's like the decision that we made. So I think that that was some gameplay that I was proud of as a player. So
Yeah. I'm happy with that. So with that, Jessica, congratulations. You are episode MVP. Woo! I will say it is a feat that Caroline has been in the conversation
Totally.
almost
yeah,
every week.
definitely. I definitely think she's playing a great game at
Yeah.
this point.
I think she's
Absolutely.
Like
actually
that's
maybe the best game that she has played so far.
in every season. Yeah, I
It's
definitely see
very
that
balanced, it's pretty low key, but like she's very firm at the same
for
time.
sure. And she sees her path and she knows how to like
Mhm.
make it fall into action.
Yeah.
Major respect.
Yeah.
When I am not playing with Caroline, I'm a major Caroline fan. When I'm playing with Caroline, my heart races.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Number one op.
and that was another reason that I wanted to work with Caroline because I knew that she was someone who like gets stuff done. And I was like,
Yeah.
if I align with her, she'll get stuff done for me.
Yeah.
And that's true.
So Silly Goose, I had a hard time with this one because I don't
I
think
did too.
anyone in particular played like a bad game or did something like really silly this
Hmm.
episode, but did anyone have something like that really stood out to them?
I
I
have
have a thought.
oh
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, well, I don't think that comes from a place of like fumbling the bag in a game sense, but I do think Kay is being a silly goose this episode.
oh,
I
That's
think that
what I say as well.
I think the fact that you like I do feel like you're playing up your ineptness a little bit in a sense, but I think that your true like inability to make a decision about who goes home in this scenario shows a lack of like that game headedness that sometimes you need to have.
yeah.
And I do think that like there's a chance that you like make a stupid decision based on like an emotional appeal that someone makes to you. So that's the reason I would say that
Mhm.
you were being a bit of a silly goose.
I said that. Well, I had also a run up for Silly Goose, which is basically like the whole Aces tribe.
I mean, yeah.
Like they're really just focused on us, and there's no trust being built on that
Mhm.
tribe, and they're just like they keep on kind of like saying each other's names and talking about each other, and then they're like, but really, we're just gonna stay seven solid, and then just like
Yeah.
Totally.
it doesn't feel like there's like a lot of loyalty happening except for between Steven, Roos, and GMAC to a degree, maybe.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But ultimately I do agree that Kay was the silly goose. I think that you were a bit clouded by our personal relationship as friends. And I genuinely do think it was the right move to probably get me out. Um and because no matter what, I think I would have realized I was at the bottom of the alliance and done something with that, hopefully. And I think that my emotional appeal to like, I don't want to get you guys out, like I'm three strong. It was a Hail Mary and I was panicking and floundering, and it had a major impact in a way that like I don't think that it would have if you were thinking with your game head and not your friend head.
Mhm.
Correct. I also think
Um,
sorry, I do think in a similar way where Caroline is the name on the table, you have a similar difficulty separating you and
yeah,
Caroline's
yeah, yeah.
relationship.
Well,
Um,
okay, yes, okay, here's the thing. Yes, the relationships were hard, but I think for me, the reason that this was so hard is because I just like wasn't ready
mhm.
for any of these people to go. And like obviously everyone was in that position,
Yeah.
but I'm just I'm all about the optimization and I'm like, no, I'm not
Yeah.
ready for this. No,
Yeah.
make something else happen. Can we
Yes.
win?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, like you got upset that your preset game
Yes.
plan that you had in mind was getting messed with in a
Yeah,
way
I'm
that
like,
you
I
were
have a
not
plan and
expecting.
it's getting screwed with. But yeah, no, I respect that. I did say like I was like Brant or Steven, just because,
I do
but
ultimately think the Aces tribe as a whole is being more
mhm.
silly goose than anyone on the Lady Luck
Yeah, yeah,
tribe,
yeah,
but it's always hard for me to talk about the tribe that doesn't go to tribal because it's
yeah,
like in terms of silly goose and MVP. But I do agree with Allie that the Aces are being very silly. I don't know what, like, I feel like their gameplay has not progressed past the swap. Like, I feel like they're
yeah,
still talking about the same things as we were talking about when we were on their tribe.
which
yeah,
is hard because they didn't have to go to tribal other than getting.
Yeah,
yeah,
I think that they
yeah,
kind of sit pretty and just focus on K and Jess, K and Jess, K and Jess.
yeah,
yeah, yeah. And like, listen, the like staying seven strong thing, like it while it's a boring like
yeah.
way to play the game, like it can take you far, but you're absolutely right that like they're not doing enough to even build that strength.
Right. Well, that's
Right.
the thing. It's like they're not actually seven strong from what I'm seeing in the episode. They're like they're just saying they're seven strong while snaking around each other,
Yeah.
Yeah,
building any of those relationships to make that a
It
sustainable.
doesn't feel like there's a rhyme or reason to a lot of the conversations.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. But I will stick with you guys and I will be the silly goose of the day.
Are you happy? Are you proud?
Officer, come get
Arrested.
me. Okay, realty, I actually need an opinion because how are we
Mhm.
feeling about this versus this?
I think that unfortunately the dangly goose is better
I kind of agree.
because I think that the silly goose badge, while it's funny because it is being like beep beep, you're a silly goose, it doesn't read as well on camera.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think you
look
got
at
to go back to
her.
hearing.
But once again, that is a
It
swan.
is a
I'm pretty sure.
swan. But maybe we just stick with our
I think
roots.
we can stick with the OG, especially if we're doing the disco ball, unless we get a little badge that says
That's true.
MVP.
No, we don't get a badge as a disco ball. Or oh, look what I have here. Hello.
That's a pomegranate.
It's wait, what the heck?
Wait,
Yeah.
you have to. Only one of them
Wait,
has the seeds showing.
it's a pomegranate.
Pomegranate. Yeah, pick. We'll just change which one of my novelty earrings gets dangled each episode.
Yes.
It is fruitiest cast member.
Yeah.
Who
Who's
is the
winning
fruitiest this
fruitiest?
week?
Who's the week's fruit?
Max.
For just being like,
I have to say, I think that Max is also in the running for silly.
That's true.
that's fair.
I wasn't considering him because he was on Exile.
That told me that was so funny.
I was like, there is no television happening here. It's literally just him staring at the paper going like this.
I also like
Narrator.
once again like Kay told me it was coming. I literally like grammar checked that slide and stuff. I still laughed out loud when it came on the screen.
Thank you.
It's a deep thought. That was
Of silent deep thought.
And then him
Especially-
afterwards just being like, Exile's been great. And I also just listen, not to get too sidetracked, and we do have to wrap up soon, but
Yeah.
like he's so like nonchalantly iconic. It's incredible.
I know,
He's
it's
not
the
trying.
best. He's so funny. I just think
Oh.
the best part about it for me is I can literally imagine him standing there for 15 minutes in deep silence.
And you know what? It's not his fault because like it's a thought puzzle. It's like a word
Yes.
puzzle. Like I don't really know how you're supposed to like
You can't talk
make
through
that
it. You need to
interesting.
be like
Yeah.
locked in.
So that's the episode. Okay, I promise you, Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you this time. There's no double episode next episode, but it is very interesting. It's a lot of drama,
Mm.
um, a lot of tension. Yeah,
Some
that's
tension
what
for
I'll
sure.
say. So look forward to that. Allie, got anything to plug? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm plugging this season of Survivor all in. I got
Hell yeah.
the rest of it on the sidelines and it was really fun. So fun.
All right. Well, thank you for being with us. Always a pleasure.
Love
Maybe
you.
we'll have you on just for fun sometime.
Aw, okay.
Okay, and with that, the mams are signing off.